Hello friends, this video on improvement in food resources part 12 is brought to you by examfear.com. No more fear from exam. So we will start with cattle farming. So let us see how the cattle is taken care of so that their products can be utilized. So let's talk about cattle husbandry. So what do you think is the purpose of cattle husbandry? What do we human beings get from cattle? The first thing is milk. Cow's milk, buffalo's milk, right? Very common. Helps in agriculture. You would have seen that cows or ox or buffaloes, they help in plowing the fields, right? So their labor also helps human beings. So these are majorly the two important purposes of cattle farming. So based on this, they are classified into two types broadly. First is dairy animals. What are dairy animals? Those animals which give us milk. So the term dairy is associated with milk. They are often also known as milch animals. So they give us milk. So the female cows or buffaloes which gives milk are known as dairy animals. On the other hand, the next classification is draught animals. What are draught animals? Those which help us in agriculture, like plowing the fields, as you can see here, right? So in cattle, when we talk of cattle in India, mostly it would include cows and buffaloes commonly. Okay, so now let us see how we take care of the feeding, breeding and disease control of cattle. So let us start with feeding. Now, there are two kinds. The food which a cattle needs, again, are broadly classified into two types. One is maintenance requirement, that is the food which is needed for healthy survival of the animal. Now let us suppose if we are dependent on a cow for its milk, we need to ensure that the cow stays healthy. If the cow doesn't stay healthy, it will not be able to give us good milk. Now, one important thing, we obtain milk from a cow. So is it that we can get milk from the cow throughout the year? It is not like that. The cow will be capable of giving milk only during the lactation period. So what is lactation period? It is the period post the birth of a calf. So now when a cow gives birth to its baby, after that it enters the lactation period. In that lactation period, it is capable of producing milk to feed its baby. And that is the period when we can also get milk from the cow. Right? So it is only during the lactation period that we can actually get milk from a cow. So now in order to get milk, it is very much necessary that the animal should itself remain healthy. So this category of food is known as maintenance requirement, which is needed for healthy survival of the animal. The next category is milk producing requirement. What is milk producing requirement? It is needed during the lactation period. That means there are some specific types of food which should be given to the cow during its lactation period so that it can give good milk. Right? Now, why do we need these kind of food? The first kind, maintenance requirement. For example, the cow is going to help you in your plowing, in your farming. So it has to be healthy. So for that, it has to eat food. On the other hand, the milk producing cows need to have a healthy lactation period. Only then you will get good milk. So you need to take care of its food during the lactation period again. Right? So what kind of food it mainly depends on? So food of a cow mainly consists of roughage and concentrates. So what are roughage? Roughage is mostly fibers. So fiber related food is mostly roughage. And what are concentrates? So roughage are concentrates, and concentrates mainly constitute the food of a cow. So you would have seen, if you have ever been to the place where you have the cow sheds, where cow lives, you would have seen the kind of food on which the cow mostly depends. They are based mostly of roughage because they need a lot of fibers for their survival. Right? So this is how we can take care of the food of a cattle. Now let us talk about breeding. So how is the breeding ensured? Now crossbreeding of animals to get the desired qualities. As I mentioned before also, while we were discussing about plants, we talked about hybridization, right? Where what do? We combine two different um, varieties of crops to get a new variety with our desired characteristics. So similarly, in case of cattle also, we crossbreed animals. That means we make reproduction happen between two different breeds of animals, and to get a new animal with some desired qualities. Let us look at this example. So this is a Indian breed of cow called Sindhi, and this one is a foreign breed called Jersey, right? So this is the Indian breed called Sindhi, and this is the foreign breed called Jersey. So both of them has some characteristics of its own. Now this Sindhi breed has a characteristic that it has high resistant to diseases. That means it does not catch disease very easily. So this is its positive. So this is the positive of the Indian breed. What is the positive of this foreign breed? The positive of the foreign breed is that it has very long lactation periods. Now what are the advantages of long lactation periods? It is only during the lactation periods that we can get milk from this cow. Now if the lactation period is very long, that means it will be capable of giving milk for a longer period of time. So that is the advantage. But this is less resistant to diseases, so it can catch diseases easily. So in the Indian version, it is not resistant, it is high resistant to diseases, but the lactation period is small, so it will be capable of giving milk only for a short period of time. So what they do, they crossbreed these two animals. So when these two animals reproduce, what happens, the result which we get is a desired quality. So the result will have long lactation period plus long resistant to diseases. That means it will not catch diseases easily. At the same time, it will have long lactation period. So it will be capable of giving milk for a longer period of time. So this is known as breeding. So when we talk about breeding, we actually try to find out that if we crossbreed two animals, if we are able to get some animal with some desired qualities. So this is how breeding is taken care of in cattle farming. Next is disease control. In order to control anything, we should know the cause of that particular thing. So for disease control also, we should know the cause of diseases. So in cattle, the causes of diseases are external parasites. What are parasites? Parasites are the microorganisms which enter the body of a host and cause a disease. They are known as parasites. So external parasites, internal parasites. What are external parasites? Which attack the body of a cattle externally. That means mostly they attack on the skin and can cause skin diseases. So what are examples of external parasites? Would be some termites or insects which can sit on the body of the cow or buffalo, and then they can bite them and cause some infection on the skin. So they are external parasites. When I talk of internal parasites would include such organisms which enter inside the body of the cattle or the body of the cow or buffalo and causes infection inside. So these kind of parasites can cause infection of stomach or intestine, or it can affect the liver. So it can affect the internal organs like stomach, intestine, or liver, right? Another kind of cause can be bacterial infection, or it can be a viral infection. So these are some of the cause of the diseases. So microorganisms are the cause. Sometimes it can be external parasite, sometimes it can be internal parasite. But why do we need to control the diseases? Because if we do not control the diseases, or if the animal gets some disease, it will reduce the milk production and it can also cause death. So that is why we need to control the diseases. Now, how do we control the diseases? So disease control measures would include cleanliness and proper hygiene. Now, if we maintain proper cleanliness with the animal, if the animal is cleaned regularly, so the chances are less that external parasites can attack. So some termites cannot sit on the skin for a long time and cause infections because you are cleaning it on a regular basis, right? So cleanliness and proper hygiene, if proper hygienic conditions are maintained in where the animal is staying, the food which the animal is taking, in that case bacterial infection and viral infection can also be avoided to a large extent, right? And the second measure is vaccination. We have spoken about vaccination in our previous lesson, that is why do we fall ill. So what is vaccination? It is basically a prevention against a certain disease. So now there are some common diseases which happen in cattle, commonly in cows and buffaloes. So there are some vaccines which are already available in the market against those diseases. So if you take that vaccine is nothing but a kind of injection. So if you take that injection, that disease will not happen to you again. For example, for human beings, we have a vaccination for polio, we have a vaccination available for tetanus, we have a vaccination available for smallpox, right? So if you take that vaccination, it will be ensured that you will not get that disease ever. So similarly, in case of cows and buffaloes also, you have vaccination for some diseases which should be given to the animal on time, so that you can prevent some of the diseases, right? So this is how we can take care of the disease control of cattle, right? So we saw why do we need to take care of the cattle? Because we get milk, because they help us in agriculture as well, right? How do we feed them? Mostly roughage, because it is rich in fibers. And how do we control diseases? With vaccination and cleanliness. And how do we breed them? How do we crossbreed them to get better qualities in them? Now let us talk about cleanliness. How do we ensure cleanliness in cattle? Clean, dry, covered and well ventilated shelter. Now clean, that is very obvious, so that infections do not happen. When I say dry, because if it is dry, then it is better, as microorganisms cannot, because mostly we know that insects and worms breed in wet places, right? So that's why it is better if you keep it dry. It should be covered so that the animals are protected from heat or cold, and well ventilated. At the same time, it should not be completely covered. In that case, the animals might suffocate due to lack of fresh air. So it should be covered, but at the same time, it should be well ventilated. So somewhat like this. So here you can see all the cows are inside this cow shed, and they have got a specific place. They have this their food, which is rich in which is a roughage and which is rich in fibers. Regular cleaning of animals to remove dirt and loose hair. Now these animals have hair on their bodies, right? So at a periodic interval of time, if you keep cleaning the animals, there will be a lot of loose hair on their body. So if you do not clean it properly, what will happen? Maybe while taking food or something, those loose hair might fall into the food and animals might feed on it, and that can cause some kind of infection in the stomach. So maintaining cleanliness of the animal as well as maintaining cleanliness of the shelter of the animal is very, very important. Thank you. Please visit www.examfear.com to watch more videos, attempt free online test, get free study material, find tutors and mentors. Thank you once again.